Today you're going to be getting a slab of clay, and you will be transforming these slabs into envelopes with a small letter of affirmation to yourself or the person of your choosing. You will be getting back the bag that you filled last class with your affirmation and your pasta letters. To begin, you want to take the envelope template first. Don't use the small letter template just yet. And before you start cutting, you want to make sure that the entire thing fits completely on your slab. You might need to turn the template at an angle to make it fit. But again, just double check that everything fits before you start cutting. You will use a needle tool, like a knife, to slice through your clay. You want to hold your needle tool straight up and down, not at an angle, and push it right up against the edge of your template. Make sure your needle tool is all the way through your clay. It should be sliding on your clay mat on the table. Once you've traced around your template, you will remove the scrap edges. We will be using this scrap clay to create our letter that goes inside our envelope. So for now, just scrunch those up and set those scraps to the side. Your second step is to smooth the edges. You are going to use one finger dipped in your slip cup and gently drag it around the edges of your envelope to smooth out any rough or jagged edges. Don't overdo it with the slip. You don't want your piece getting too wet or soggy. If you want to smooth out the middle, just use your dry finger. I would not use recommending slip for the middle, especially if you're planning on adding texture like we do in the next step. Next, if you would like to add texture to your envelope, this is when you would do that. Find a texture plate in your basket that you like. You don't want to slam this texture into your envelope. It should not be pressed super deep into the clay. You're going for a very light texture, and you don't want to misshape your envelope by pressing too hard with the texture plate. It is okay if it doesn't fit all the way on top of your envelope, and if you don't feel like adding a texture and you'd like your envelope to be smooth, that's okay too. When you're pressing the texture plate into your clay, it's almost like you're playing the piano or typing, but you just do it pretty firmly to make sure that all that texture is showing up. And you can occasionally lift the texture plate without pulling it all the way off to kind of peek to make sure you're pushing down hard enough. Next, you will arrange your name on your envelope. Don't press any letters in until you have actually laid out the letters to make sure that everything fits, that it's centered and spaced the way you want it to be. You want your name to kind of be in this imaginary rectangle in the middle of your slab, like it's shown on your template. I would dump your pasta on top of your little paper and just try really hard to keep your table organized so your letters don't go missing. I'm going to look for all of my letters. Make sure that they are the correct direction and in the right order. Again, I'm not pushing anything into place until I have it all laid out the way that I like it. Once it's good to go, I can then begin pushing the letters into the slab so that the tops of the letters are level or even with the slab of clay. I want to be careful that I don't smooth any clay over my pasta. If something's not in the right spot, you can probably use your needle tool to carefully lift that pasta out and rearrange it. If you've got eyes in your name or statement, make sure the eyes are placed kind of the right direction and not flat on its side. It will look more like a capital I that way. Now that I have my letters pressed in, I need to flip the whole thing over. You'll take your whole clay mat up off the table, place one hand on top, and flip the two over together onto your hand. You should be able to then gently peel the clay mat right off the back of your clay slab, and then set your envelope, letter, and texture side down. When I go to start folding the envelope up, I want to make sure that the pointy part is at the top and the flat edge is at the bottom, just like my template. I'm going to start by folding in the two sides first. I gently fold the edges in without completely flattening them down. These two sides should not touch. There should be a small gap in the middle. Last, you will fold the bottom up and over the two side folds. It should overlap and kind of hide that gap that are between your two side flaps. The next thing we will do is add a paper towel to keep our envelope from smushing all the way shut. We need a bit of a pocket so we can fit our clay letter inside. Take your paper towel and fold it in half over and over and over again until it's small enough to stuff down into the bottom of the envelope to help support it while it's drying. We will eventually remove these paper towels once the envelope has started to dry and harden and can hold its shape. Pinch the corners shut to ensure a good seal. If you need to do a little smoothing or fixing of cracks now that everything is folded, now's a great time to do that. Last, we will make the letter that has our affirmation on it. I will use my extra clay to form my own slab. Squish it up into a ball. Make sure it is on your clay mat and not the table, and then use the bottom side of your fist to pound it flat. You're going to have to pound it pretty good to get it to flatten down. I like to give it a few pounds kind of in a circular motion. Flip it over, pound it again, and continue kind of pounding and flipping until it's looking fairly even and it's also big enough to fit my letter template on top. You also want to go thin enough that it fits in your envelope, but not so thin that it feels really flimsy, like it's going to fall apart or break when it dries. Before I add my letters, I want to take my dry finger and smooth it out just a little bit. Place your template on top and cut your letter out. Smooth any edges that look jagged or misshapen. Before you start adding your letters, do a real quick test to see if it actually will fit inside your envelope. Mine seems a little bit too wide, so I'm going to trim just a little bit off to make it fit better, and I'm going to use the template as like a straight edge so I can just trace right along the side of it. Again, just check one last time to make sure that you're good to go. Remember, when it's time to add the letters, you want to arrange all of your letters first, play with your spacing and alignment before you start pressing anything into place. Also, just double check your spelling and make sure you don't have any letters swapped around or missing or backwards. When it all looks good, then start pressing those letters all the way down so it's level with the top of your clay. Once you are completely finished, it's time to get things put away and cleaned up. Make a clay name tag with just your first and last initial and your class code. The small papers and pencils for these name tags are in the basket on your clay tray. When you bring your pieces over to the tray, you're going to set them separately on the tray so they don't dry stuck together. So set your envelope down and then put your letter just right next to it on the tray. Place your name tag right on top so it's touching both of them. Once you've put everything away, then please head back to your table and start putting everything from your tray away. We can bring the empty bags over to where we've turned our envelopes in and make a stack of those. That paper that was inside, unless you want it, it can just be recycled. Make sure that all of your tools get cleaned up and put back. If there is some clay stuck to the needle tool, you can scrape it off and just drop that in your slip cup. Clay mats also go on the tray. If you have any extra clay left over, you will bring it to our extra clay bucket for other students to use. At the very end, when all of the dirty stuff is put away, you will then use washcloths to clean up yourself and your table.